won't be playing in the preseason for the Jets. In fact, he might not play at all since he requested a trade from the Jets after being traded to the Jets. So here's Robert Saleh on if Reddick's absence has been an issue.
How do you avoid this being a distraction?
It's not. I promise you it's not. We've got a lot of really good depth at the defensive end position, and they're all taking advantage of the extra opportunities that they're getting because of it.
All right. Are you buying Reddick's trade demand as a non-issue?
Absolutely not. And I don't buy I think defensive end is one of their positions with the least depth. They're leading the only guy on their team last year with 8 or more sacks left to the Eagles, because the Eagles knew they were going to have to fill a void because they won't pay Haason Reddick. They used a first-round pick last year, a team that has needed offensive linemen for years, a team that as of last year only had one reliable receiver. They said, we are spending our first-round pick on a defensive end, on an edge, and Will McDonald, again, his rookie year wasn't great. We'll see if he pops, but I don't think the early reports have been overwhelming. And then they went out and traded for Haason Reddick. They did all of these things because that's the only spot on their defense they're not excellent. They have excellent linebackers. They have a great secondary. Quinnen Williams is, in my opinion, the second or third best D tackle in football. They've got all those spots. But you need a pass rusher on the edge. That's what Reddick was supposed to be. So I think it's an issue because the coach has to answer for it. They don't know what they're going to do there. And it's an issue, just like it'd be an issue if the contract was fine, but he had a pulled hamstring and he's out a month. They need that production at that spot. They have no one on their roster that last year had more than 7.5 sacks for them on an otherwise great defense.
I actually think that Robert's exactly right. This is not a distraction. And here's why. You can't miss what you don't know. And he's never been in the building. He's never been part of this process. And I think that's a real mistake that he made. If he'd come to the offseason program and let the players get to know him, the coaches get to know him, the GM get to know him, the owner get to know him, be in the classroom a little bit, just get a feel for him.
And then ghost him.
Yeah, then when he's not there, then you actually
break their heart.
You actually miss him. But right now, nobody even knows anything about him except that he was a guy they traded for. But there's no sense of missing him right now because he hasn't been around. You know, he has been working hard. I did find some practice tape of him. I don't know if we have that. Oh, here he is.
Well,
yeah, getting a little work done. So he should be in really good shape when he shows
You're
up.
allowed to enjoy your off-season.
Yeah, I think if you walk like 4 or 5 miles in Osaka, then you're ready to rush the passer. It's a little different. But
Rushing the passer has not been an issue for that man in a while. Like for me, I partially agree with you, Coach. I think it's you can't miss what you don't know, and that's why I don't think it's a distraction for the guys in the locker room until they start getting asked the questions about Haason all the time. But to that point, to your point, they've never seen him, they've never experienced him. So on that regards, I don't think it's a distraction. For Robert Saleh and on up, yes, it is definitely a distraction because you're perceived in the perception of fans and all of us in the media is that this is a roster that has been comprised of talent to where they have a chance to win a Super Bowl. You know what gives them even a greater little notch, a feather in the cap? Oh, and you went out and got Haason Reddick after allowing your guy to walk away? Okay, we replenished there. Well, now you don't have that guy, and he is an actual guy he's a top 5 pass rusher in this league right now, as stats suggest.
I mean, it says one of 4 guys with 50 sacks.
And he doesn't even want to be here anymore. Like, that is a distraction. For you to have to answer those questions when you're trying to prepare guys to play games and prepare for a regular season with a guy that you thought you will have plans for as a head coach that is a defensive coordinator.
He was not a luxury.
But I'd say the guys who spend the most time, like Joe Douglas is going to have to deal with Woody and answer all his questions. Like that's who's getting his time eaten up, not Robert. Like Robert's like, I don't know, when they do the contract, I'll coach him up, you know.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. We're talking about Bryce Young. Are the Panthers starting over? Yeah, it makes me sad a little bit. Show. Aaron Rodgers not playing in the preseason, but says he's got a little extra in the tank once the real season kicks off in San Francisco in 26 days. Here's Aaron.
And I feel like I have an extra gear that I haven't shown yet. I'm not sure how much of an extra gear that is. But in my mind, maybe that's just pushing me. I got maybe a little bit more I can give, but like being able to move in the pocket and still make throws and an extended play and is something I'd love to be able to do.
Tell you what, Aaron Rodgers' likability ranking in Kevin Wilde's heart, moving up.
I know. You like his press conferences.
He's great.
So here's the thing. Every time Aaron does an actual press conference, you like him more. And every time he's sitting on a couch just shooting with somebody on a podcast, you like him less. That's exactly what happens.
All right, your reaction to him having extra gear.
If I were the Jets, I would be in the tempering expectations business, not the raising expectations business. Like, what? For this year to be considered a successful season for the Jets, if we just go backwards through Aaron's most recent years, how far back would we have to get to one that would be a comp success? Right? Because, Aaron, so obviously 2023, no. 4 snaps and a popped Achilles. That ain't going to do it.
No.
2022.
No.
Missed the playoffs, losing in your final game of the regular season against a rival. No, that's not going to do it. 2021, win league MVP.
Yeah.
Lose your first playoff game 13-10 at home? No. You got to go back to 2020.
If he wins MVP, they're going to count that as a plus.
If Aaron wins MVP and they go one and done in the playoffs, I actually think the MVP would then work.
Coach.
Okay, well, right, but I'm not talking about for Aaron. I'm talking about for the Jets. I'm talking about for the Jets to have a successful season, you'd have to go all the way back to 2020, which was another MVP year when they lost to Tom in the NFC Championship game. Like that, which is also how long it's been since Aaron's won a playoff game. We are, folks, even if we want to just Men in Black neuralizer the popped Achilles, fine. His final year in Green Bay, if that happens this season, it's a disaster year where people get fired. And people are like, okay, Aaron's not the same guy. So I wouldn't be, I thought this quote in general in a vacuum is fine. But I just wouldn't be ratcheting up expectations, Coach. I wouldn't. I think it's a bad idea.
I mean, I see extra gear. Like, is it the extra gear where he actually plays? Is it the extra gear? He gets an extra gear at 40? Like, I need to go into a cave if you get an extra gear at 40.
Yeah.
And what does he mean by extra gear? Is he saving the gear for something?
For the regular season.
For when he's 50? Like, why are you saving the gears? Yeah. Like, I'd love to see a gear. I love it. That would be fantastic. And I'd like to see a gear that plays and stops talking and like brings the team together as opposed to, polarizes everybody.
Okay.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely. This is sheer coach speak right now. Like, for me, so a couple things, but I'm just going to focus. We as athletes are the last to identify that we have lost a step or we have lost something that made us great. We're the last one. Everyone around us, including sometimes the media, can see it. But it's hard when you have been great for so long to identify and to allow your mind to go to a space of, I can't turn it on again, or I can't go to another level. So I don't mind him saying this, but just like he followed it up with, which I'm not sure how much of a gear that is, or if that's just even in my mind, yeah, but you can't allow yourself to think anything other than I got more left. I got something else to prove, and I can go to another level. So I don't mind it. I don't know where it's going to come from. I'm kind of with Coach. Like, I mean, have you saved the gear?
Well, I think that I read this to mean he is, and this is where, because I don't have a problem with this quote. In general, it was kind of just layered with all the other expectation setting. But at some point, I think it's fair to say the Jets haven't quite squared on the messaging surface how cautious Aaron and the team clearly are being with him coming off an Achilles, and the story that he was ready to play 8 months ago.
Yeah, they've just...
Because to me, what I read this.
How kind you are in including the team.
Okay, well, what I read this to mean, well, the team was the ones telling us he had a one-handed interception and playing defensive back in December. I read this to mean, understandably, I haven't really fully, let myself loose yet, and I'm not going to either at this point in the process or not going to do it until the regular season, which is reasonable if you're a 40-year-old guy coming off an Achilles. It's less reasonable if on those podcasts that we talk about where he says, I was ready to play if we were in the playoffs in December. Those two things are in conflict, but luckily one of those things is not reality. The reality is it's a 40-year-old guy who popped his Achilles 11 months ago, and so he is being extra cautious in practice, which is the smart thing to do. So that's what I read in. I read extra gear of, I think I might be a little more escapable than I'm showing right now because I'm still taking it relatively easy, which is what you would want him to do.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the defensive side. Haason Reddick also